I still remember the night she said those words that shattered everything I believed in. "I only married you for money," she confessed, her voice cold, almost emotionless, like she was talking about the weather. My heart stopped, my mind went blank, and the world around me turned silent, except for the echo of her voice repeating in my head. I stared at her, unable to move, unable to breathe. This was the woman I had loved, trusted, and built my entire life around. For 3 years I thought we were a team. I thought she loved me the way I loved her. But now, standing in our living room with her suitcase by the door and no trace of regret in her eyes, I realized I had been living in a lie. I wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but all that came out was a whisper. Why would you say that?" She looked at me, a small smirk curling on her lips, and said, "Because it's the truth. You were easy to fool. You made it too simple." My stomach twisted. I remembered every moment we shared, our late-night talks, the mornings she'd kiss me half asleep, the laughter, the plans for the future. Were all of those fake? I felt humiliated, used, and stupid. I had come from nothing, worked day and night to build my small business, and when success finally came, I thought love had followed. But maybe she had just followed the money. The sound of rain tapping against the window mixed with the pounding of my heart. I wanted to ask her to stay, even after all of that. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help it. "Love makes fools out of even the strongest men. You'll regret this," I managed to say, though my voice trembled. She only shrugged, opened the door, and walked out into the rain without looking back. I stood there for hours, watching the rain pour down, until dawn crept through the curtains. That was the night my heart broke. But what I didn't know was that her confession wasn't the whole truth. There was something darker behind it, something that would destroy the last piece of me I had left. The days after she left felt like moving through fog. Every corner of the house reminded me of her. The coffee mug she used, the faint scent of her perfume on the pillow, the empty spot in the closet where her clothes used to hang. I tried to tell myself I was better off without her, that I didn't need someone who had used me, but the ache in my chest refused to fade. My friends told me to move on, to focus on work, to forget her. But how do you forget someone who became your whole world? I buried myself in business, spending long nights at the office trying to drown my thoughts in spreadsheets and meetings. Yet no matter how hard I tried, her words kept playing in my head. "You were easy to fool." One evening, about 2 weeks after she left, I received a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name written in her handwriting. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside was a single photograph of her, standing with another man, holding his hand, smiling. On the back of the photo were 5 words. "This is who I love." My chest tightened, anger and disbelief crashing together inside me. I wanted to destroy the photo, but something about it felt off. The man beside her looked familiar, though I couldn't place where I had seen him. That night, I barely slept, my mind replaying every moment of our marriage, trying to find clues I had missed. The next morning, I called an old friend of mine, a private investigator named Harris. I told him everything and asked him to find out who the man was. He agreed, his tone serious, like he knew this wasn't just about betrayal. It was something deeper. While waiting for answers, I started noticing strange things. My company accounts showed missing amounts. Small at first, then growing. Someone had been transferring money without authorization. My heart sank when I traced the first few transfers. They were from the same time I married her. My blood ran cold. Could she have planned everything? Could she have been working with someone all along? I didn't know it yet, but that single photograph was the beginning of a truth far worse than I could have ever imagined. A week later, Harris called me early in the morning. His voice was low and serious. "You'd better sit down for this," he said. My heart pounded as he explained what he'd found. The man in the photo wasn't just anyone. His name was Victor Lane, a known con artist who had been involved in multiple financial scams. My ex-wife had been connected to him for years. They had posed as a couple in different cities, targeting wealthy business owners, draining their accounts, and disappearing before anyone could catch them. Harris said they were both under investigation in another state, but had vanished before charges could be filed. My stomach turned. The woman I had loved, trusted, and promised forever to was part of a criminal web. Everything suddenly made sense. The way she had shown up in my life right after I won a major business contract. The way she had subtly convinced me to let her help with the finances. The sudden expenses she always brushed off as business investments. I had been blinded by love, too naive to see the trap I had walked into. I slammed my hand on the desk, anger flooding through me. But then Harris said something that froze me in place. There's more. The accounts she used, they're not just under her name. One of them lists you as a co-signer. My head snapped up. What? That's impossible. I double-checked, he replied. If the authorities connect you to that account, they might think you were involved. My vision blurred for a moment. My own name tied to her fraud, it meant I could lose everything I had worked for, maybe even my freedom. My anger turned into fear. I needed proof, something to clear my name and expose what she and Victor had done. Harris promised to dig deeper, but warned me to stay quiet for now. If they know you're onto them, they'll disappear again, he said. That night, I sat in my dark living room, staring at our wedding photo. Her smile in that picture looked real, innocent, full of love. I wanted to rip it apart, but I couldn't, because deep down, I needed to know. Why did she do it? Was it all really just about money, or was there something even worse behind her lie? The next few days were torture. I couldn't focus on work, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smiling like nothing had ever been real. Harris kept sending me updates, small pieces of a bigger puzzle that only deepened the pit in my stomach. He found records of hotel bookings under fake names, phone numbers linked to burner phones, and transactions that connected Victor and her to several offshore accounts. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. One of those accounts was tied to a charity I had personally founded years ago, the one meant to help struggling families. My own charity was being used as a front for their schemes. I felt sick. They hadn't just stolen from me. They had used my kindness as a weapon. Harris told me to prepare for the worst, because the authorities might soon start asking questions about the missing funds. I didn't know how to defend myself without dragging her name into the public eye. Despite everything, a part of me still wanted to protect her. Or maybe I just wanted to protect the memory of who I thought she was. Late one night, I sat alone in my office staring at the financial records when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Did you miss me?" Her voice was calm, almost playful. My grip tightened on the phone. "Where are you?" I demanded. She laughed softly. "You always were terrible at hiding your emotions." My heart raced. "You stole from me. You lied to me, and now I'm being accused because of you." There was silence, then a sigh. "You weren't supposed to find out this way," she said, her tone suddenly heavy. "It's not what you think." I clenched my jaw. "Then tell me what it is." She paused for a moment before whispering, "Meet me tomorrow night at the old bridge, the one by the river, alone." And before I could say another word, the line went dead. I stared at my phone, torn between anger and curiosity. Was this another trap? Or was she finally ready to tell me the truth? The real reason she had destroyed our life together. The next night, I drove to the old bridge just before midnight. The air was cold, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes every sound echo louder than it should. The river below roared, reflecting the faint glow of the streetlights. I parked a few feet away and stepped out, scanning the darkness. My heart pounded as I waited, every second stretching longer than the last. Then I saw her. She stepped out from the shadows wearing a long coat, her hair tied back, her face pale under the dim light. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked tired, haunted even. "You came," she said softly, her voice trembling just a little. I took a cautious step forward. "You said you'd tell me the truth. Start talking." She hesitated, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. "Victor, he forced me into it. He said if I didn't help him, he'd destroy me. And you." I frowned, anger flaring again. "So you expect me to believe that you scammed me out of love because you were scared?" She shook her head desperately. "You don't understand. I tried to protect you. You were just supposed to be a target, but then I fell in love with you. I didn't mean to." My chest tightened. I wanted to believe her, but how could I after everything? "If you loved me," I said coldly, "you wouldn't have left me to take the fall." She looked away, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Victor found out I was trying to warn you. He took the money and disappeared. He said he'd make it look like you were part of it if I didn't leave." My mind spun. It sounded too convenient, too perfectly tragic to be real, but the fear in her voice felt genuine. "Where is he now?" I asked. She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if someone might be watching. "He's close. He's been following you. I shouldn't have come." Before I could say another word, headlights flashed in the distance. A black SUV slowed near the bridge. Panic filled her eyes. "Run!" she whispered urgently, grabbing my arm. "You don't know what he's capable of." And before I could react, she pushed me back into the shadows as the SUV door opened and a tall figure stepped out. The sound of the SUV door slamming echoed across the bridge, and in that instant, the air grew heavy with dread. I crouched behind the old railing, my pulse pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The man who stepped out was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black from head to toe. Even from the distance, I knew it had to be Victor. He moved with the confidence of someone who had nothing to fear. "My wife no." Emma stood frozen in the middle of the bridge, her arms wrapped around herself as he approached. "You really shouldn't have done this," Victor said, his voice smooth but laced with danger. She flinched but tried to stand her ground. "He deserves to know the truth," she said. "You used both of us," he chuckled, shaking his head. "You talk too much, Emma. That's always been your problem." I wanted to jump out, to confront him, but I knew one wrong move could get her killed or me. I scanned the area, looking for something, anything I could use. My phone. My hand trembled as I hit record, aiming it toward them. "You think he'll save you?" Victor continued, stepping closer. "He's finished. I made sure of that. His name's already on the documents. The money trail leads right to him. You were just my helper, nothing more." Emma's voice broke. "I didn't want to hurt him. I tried to stop you! And that's why you'll never see him again," he snapped. She gasped, stumbling backward. That was when instinct took over. I couldn't hide anymore. I ran out from the shadows, yelling, "Stay away from her!" Victor turned sharply, his eyes narrowing when he saw me. "Well, look who finally showed up," he said with a sneer. "The fool who thought he was loved." He reached into his coat, and my stomach dropped when I saw the glint of a gun. "Don't!" I shouted, stepping in front of Emma. "If you pull that trigger, it's over for both of us." He smirked, raising the weapon slowly. "You're right," he said coldly. "It is over." And then, before I could move, a gunshot echoed through the night. The sound ripped through the silence, and everything went black. When I opened my eyes, everything was blurry, the sound of rushing water mixed with faint echoes of shouting. My head throbbed, and for a moment I couldn't remember where I was. Then it all came flooding back. The bridge, Victor, the gunshot. I felt warmth on my shoulder and looked down to see blood soaking through my shirt. My vision cleared just enough to see Emma kneeling beside me, tears streaking down her face. "You're okay," she kept whispering, her hands pressing against my wound. "Please, stay with me." I tried to speak, but my throat was dry, my voice barely a whisper. What happened? She shook her head frantically. He's gone. He ran when he thought you were dead. I looked past her, searching the darkness, but Victor was nowhere to be seen. The SUV was gone too. I could hear sirens in the distance getting closer. Emma's hands were trembling, covered in my blood. You shouldn't have come, she cried. You should have stayed away. I winced as I tried to sit up, every muscle screaming in pain. You think I could have stayed home knowing you were walking into danger? I said weakly. She let out a broken laugh. You're still the same. Still trying to save people who destroy you. Before I could reply, flashing red and blue lights cut through the fog. Police cars stopped at the bridge, officers rushing toward us. Emma froze, panic flashing in her eyes. They can't see me, she whispered. If they do, they'll think I'm part of this. Victor made sure my name's tied to everything too. I tried to grab her arm, but she pulled away. Go, I begged. Don't make this worse. She looked at me one last time, eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in a long time, real love, or maybe guilt too heavy to carry. I'm sorry, she whispered, and then she disappeared into the shadows just as the officers reached me. I was rushed to the hospital, my shoulder burning with every heartbeat. They said I was lucky the bullet missed anything vital, but inside, I felt far from lucky. The woman I loved had saved my life, but also ruined it, and now she was gone again, leaving behind more questions than answers. I spent 3 days in the hospital, drifting in and out of sleep while detectives came in to question me about what had happened that night. They asked about Victor, about Emma, about the money trail connected to my company. Every answer I gave felt heavier than the last because the truth was tangled in too much pain and too many lies. I told them what I knew, but I left out one thing. I didn't tell them Emma had been there. I don't even know why I protected her after everything. Maybe because deep down I wanted to believe she was a victim too. Harris came to visit me the day I was discharged. He looked worn out, holding a folder thick with documents. Victor's on the run, he said grimly. Interpol's involved now. The accounts are being frozen, but it's messy. You might still be under investigation. I sank into the bed, exhaustion washing over me. So I lose everything because of her, I muttered. Harris sighed. Not everything. I dug deeper. There's something you need to see. He handed me a small envelope. Inside was a USB drive and a note written in Emma's handwriting. If you're reading this, I couldn't say goodbye properly. I know you hate me, but please, watch what's inside before you decide who I really was. My hands trembled as I plugged the drive into my laptop. The screen flickered to life, showing a video of Emma sitting in a dimly lit room, her eyes red and tired. If you're watching this, it means I couldn't fix things, she said softly. Victor wasn't just after your money. He was after you. You created something that could expose his entire operation. Your software for tracking offshore accounts. He wanted it destroyed, but I couldn't let him. I took the blame to protect you. My breath caught in my throat. She continued. Everything I did, every lie, was to keep you safe. I know it doesn't make it right, but please believe me, I did love you. The video ended, leaving me frozen in silence. I didn't know what to feel, anger, grief, or forgiveness. The woman who betrayed me had also saved me, and for the first time in months, I didn't know which truth hurt more. For days, I couldn't stop replaying that video in my mind. Her voice, her eyes, the pain she tried to hide, it all haunted me. I wanted to hate her, but every word she said chipped away at the anger I'd built around my heart. I gave the video to Harris, who analyzed the data attached to it. Within the encrypted files she left behind, he found something that changed everything. A trail of transactions leading straight to Victor's shell companies. Proof that Emma had been transferring the money back into my accounts before she disappeared. She'd been trying to return what he stole. She risked everything for you, Harris said quietly, his eyes fixed on the screen. If the feds see this, it clears your name completely. I leaned back in my chair, overwhelmed. Then where is she now? I asked, my voice cracking. Harris shook his head. No trace. She's gone dark. Maybe she's hiding, maybe... He didn't finish the sentence, and I didn't need him to. That night, I sat alone on my balcony, the city lights flickering in the distance, and I thought about the woman I had loved, the woman who had lied to me to protect me. I remembered the first time we met, her laugh, the way she looked at me like I was her whole world. Maybe that part had been real after all. I opened my laptop again and watched the video one last time, pausing it on her final words. I did love you. My throat tightened, and before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face. Love and betrayal, two sides of the same coin. I finally realized that forgiveness wasn't for her, it was for me. Holding on to anger was only keeping me chained to a past I could never change. The next morning, I went to the authorities with everything: Victor's files, Emma's message, every piece of evidence we had. The process took weeks, but eventually, my name was cleared, and Victor was officially listed as a wanted fugitive. The headlines painted me as a victim of an elaborate financial trap, but the truth was much more complicated. I wasn't just a victim, I was a man who had loved too deeply, trusted too blindly, and learned too painfully what it meant to let go. Months passed, and life slowly began to resemble something normal again, though nothing truly felt the same. The business recovered after a long battle to regain investor trust, but the man running it was no longer the same naive dreamer who once believed love could fix anything. I had become cautious, quieter, someone who had seen the darkness that hides behind beautiful smiles. Sometimes when the world fell silent at night, I still caught myself wondering where Emma was, if she was alive, if she had found peace, or if she was still running from the ghost of the man who had destroyed both our lives. One evening, just as I was closing my office, a small package arrived at the front desk. No name, no address, just a simple note taped to the top. For you. I hesitated before opening it, my hands trembling slightly. Inside was a silver locket, the same one I had given her on our first anniversary. When I clicked it open, I found a tiny folded note tucked inside. You deserve the truth. I'm sorry for everything. Don't look for me. Live free. My chest tightened, and for a long moment I couldn't move. It wasn't a reunion or a confession, it was a goodbye. I stared at the locket, realizing this was her way of setting both of us free. She was gone for good this time, and maybe that was how it had to be. I walked outside into the cool night air, the city humming softly around me. The past had left its scars, but it had also taught me something no success ever could, that sometimes strength isn't about revenge or proving someone wrong. It's about surviving what tried to break you and learning to breathe again. I looked up at the stars, clutching the locket in my palm, and whispered, I forgive you. The wind carried the words away, and for the first time in a long time, I felt light. The pain didn't vanish, but it no longer owned me. Love had betrayed me, yes, but it had also taught me resilience. And maybe, just maybe, that was the kind of wealth no amount of money could ever buy.